What's going on, guys? This is Throwrunner back again with another deck building video. I've been asked to do some Stark and or Night's Watch stuff. So I've been working on this Stark deck for a little bit now. Had a chance to test it. Yesterday was a crazy day of Thrones for me. I went downtown Toronto and played for a couple of hours at 401 Games before driving up the highway over to Rob St.John and playing another, I think, 3 or 4 games on his stream last night. So it was like roughly a 12-hour day of Game of Thrones. If you watched those last couple of games at Rob's stream, I apologize. I was making terrible mistakes, so many mistakes. But I think that's to be expected when you play so many matches of Game of Thrones in one single day. It was like, honestly, 12 hours. I mean, when I got to his stream, I ended up playing 3 or 4 games in a row after having played however many games in a row before getting there and having to drive an hour and a half there. So my apologies for that. Aside from that, though, the Stark deck did fairly well. It's still very inconsistent, and I think that's just where Stark is right now. They don't really have much that's going to help them in the way of consistency. You just got to pray that you get a good setup or mulligan hand and kind of take it from there. I think the plots that I chose definitely will help you to see what you want to see, but because of how limited the draw is currently, not just in Stark but in the game as a whole, I find that it's really difficult to consistently get out what you want to get out. But when the deck is on, it is on. So we're gonna jump into that. Give me a second here, just flipping over. There we go. So like I said, it's a Stark deck, and I enjoy playing the Stark Fealty. I just think it's fun. I haven't really tried putting Stark with any other houses. I heard that maybe Night's Watch is okay, and potentially I think it was Greyjoy. But for me, it's just going to be some Stark Fealty. So as always, the way we always do it, we're going to start with the characters. This deck has 31 of them. It's a little bit lower than what I would like. I'm still trying to toy around with it a little bit and try to get more characters in the deck, but because it's a Fealty and you're only really using Stark and neutral cards, it kind of gets difficult with the card slots. So without further ado, we're going to jump in. We've got 2 copies of Arya Stark. This is one that I want to get a third of. This deck currently sits at 60 cards, so there's going to be a chance that I would say to put a third Arya and play at 61, because we all know that my decks are always at 61. I like to have that one extra card, even though it throws off the probabilities by like 0.2%, whatever, who cares. So Arya Stark, she has stealth, she's a lady, she costs 3. She has a power icon only unless she's duped. So while Arya Stark has a duplicate, she gains a military icon reaction. After Arya Stark enters play, place the top card of your deck on her face down as a duplicate. So no matter what, when you play her, unless somebody cancels her reaction, she's going to come in with a dupe anyways. What sucks about that ability is, and the reason why I like to see her in setup, as my buddy Justin did last night, it really hurts when you put her into play outside of setup, so in marshalling, and let's say, for example, the face down card that you attach to her happens to be Ice or Milk of the Poppy or some other card that's very important to your deck. It really sucks to know that card's gonna get wasted as a duplicate for her. So I like to have her in setup, and I think that's why you need to have 3 copies of her in your deck. Some people might say it's overboard because of her ability, but that's my personal reasoning. I don't like wasting a good card on her reaction, and obviously there's no way to really know that, but I would say it's a 60-40 that the card that Arya takes is one that you're going to want, whether it be Econ or, like I said, a Milk of the Poppy or Ice or something like that, or maybe even an Eddard Stark, worst case scenario. So 3 copies of her. This deck is now going to be 61 cards instead of 60. Next we have Bran Stark. Automatic 3 for me. Cost 2, strength 1, and a power icon. He's a lord, but you're never going to use a noble cause on him because it's not worth it. When the effects of an opponent's event would initiate, sacrifice Bran Stark to cancel those effects. So you have Bran on the table. Once he's on the table, your opponent is going to try to do whatever they can to get you to kill him. The reason being, a lot of decks focus on or utilize events like Put to the Sword, or events like Dracarys, Things I Do for Love, etc. So having Bran out there, your opponent's gonna know, well, now I can't play this event when I want to, because I got to get rid of Bran Stark first. So it's kind of like having a hand's judgment that stays on the table and stares your opponent in the face. So 3 of those, and later you'll see how this card has synergy with Rob Stark. Next is Catelyn Stark. I put 3 copies of her. She is a 4-cost, 4-strength, intrigue, and power icon. For those of you who are familiar with Game of Thrones 1.0, she has the same ability as Brienne of Tarth did in Thrones 1.0. So while Catelyn Stark is participating in a challenge, your opponents cannot trigger card abilities. So it's not just character abilities, it's card abilities as a whole. So if the card has a bold text on it, whether it be a character or location, or attachment, sorry, your opponent's not able to trigger that. So if you had a way to give Catelyn a military icon and you're going up against a Stark player as well who is playing ice, and you throw Catelyn in that challenge, they're now unable to use ice because that is a triggered card ability. So this is a very strong card. Again, because she only has those 2 icons, it kind of sucks because I guess there aren't too many card abilities that are going to fire off in intrigue or power. 2 off the top of my head that I can think of are Cersei Lannister, where she gets to raise the claim by 1 on intrigue challenges, and Tyrion, who gets to receive 2 gold when a challenge is initiated. I still need to double check the timing on that. I feel like if Catelyn is the one initiating the intrigue challenge, because she initiates it, I don't think Tyrion would get the 2 gold. However, if Tyrion initiates the challenge, then the 2 gold fires because Catelyn's not participating yet. So you got to keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out who gets to trigger what and when. So Catelyn Stark, 3 copies of her because she's a very important card. Stark is very low on intrigue. She's a very strong intrigue character, and her ability just makes her even better. Moving on, we got the Direwolf Pups. I don't really like this card. I feel like Stark has too many cards that are single icon military, and it really limits them. But because it's a Fealty deck, and because I don't want to play too many high cost neutrals, I did include the Direwolf Pups. 2 copies of them, 2 cost, 1 strength, military icon, no attachment, and they get +1 strength for each other Direwolf that's on the table, each other, so they don't count themselves. So 2 of those, and they're also going to help you to get off like Warm Rain, which we'll see a little bit later. Next is Eddard, automatic 3. You already know he's Eddard Stark. It's Ned Stark. You don't even need to see his ability to know that you're going to want 3 of him. But he costs 7, 5 strength, military and renown. Sorry, military and power. He's also renowned and a lord. Reaction after a challenge is initiated against you. Stand Eddard Stark. This is an ability that your opponent is probably going to forget about a lot, especially for new players. I know I still overlook it sometimes when I'm playing against my friends' Stark decks, because he stands for any challenge initiated against him, not just the ones that he can't participate in. So even if you initiate an intrigue challenge, Eddard's going to stand, and for whatever reason, like, chances are he's not going to have an intrigue icon on him unless your opponent plays a little bird on him or you put a little bird on him. But even still, the fact that he's standing means that if you're, for example, second player, you know that you're going to have Ned on your turn when it's your turn to attack. Or likewise, if you're the first player and you go balls to the wall and kneel out everybody on your board trying to attack your opponent, you know that once they attack back, Eddard's going to stand and he's going to be able to help you defend. So he's a very, very good character to have and a very good target for a little bird. And the renown thing just makes him even better. So you definitely want to have 3 copies of Ned in your deck. Moving on, we've got Grey Wind, another direwolf that just has the military icon. He costs 5 and has 4 strength and intimidate. No attachments. Obviously, you can't put ice on a wolf because that just wouldn't work. Challenges action. Kneel Grey Wind to choose and kill a character with strength 1 or lower. Strength 2 or lower instead if you control Rob Stark. So this is a nice card to have as well. I tend to use it to burn through my opponent's reducing characters. So for example, the Winterfell Steward would be the reducing character for Stark. And all the other names are eluding me right now, but those little 1-cost weenies that you put in to reduce the cost of the next character you marshal by 1. Grey Wind, gets rid of those very easily because of his ability. And when Rob is in, then he starts eating away at characters like the annoying Dornish Paramour and things like that because they have 2 strength. Again, I don't like having to play this card, but I mean it has synergy with Rob, and it has synergy with like Warm Rain, and because it also has Intimidate, which I forgot to talk about, it makes it, I guess, good to throw into a challenge. So what Intimidate does, it allows you to kneel an opponent's character. So the actual, I guess, definition for Intimidate is however much you win the challenge by. So say it was a military challenge and you won that challenge by 5 total, and you have the Intimidate keyword, that means you get to kneel an opponent's character that has 5 strength or less. Likewise, if you won the military challenge by 10, you get to kneel a character on your opponent's side that has 10 strength or less. Only 1 character, so it's not like if I win by 10, I get to kneel any combination of characters that equals 10 strength. It's not like that. It's just 1 single character. But either way, it does have a lot of benefit for you if you're able to use Grey Wind like that instead of using his challenges action. So there are only 2 copies of him. A decent card. Obviously, you can't expect a direwolf to know how to make an intrigue challenge or power challenges. It makes sense, but it just sucks that Stark is so limited to military. Next, we have 2 copies of Littlefinger. Cost 5, another strength 4, intrigue, and power, just like Catelyn. He's a lord, so you can use a noble cause on him. After you marshal Littlefinger, draw 2 cards, and he gives you a +1 gold bonus. Remember that his reaction does not fire if you play him in setup. Excuse me. If you play him in setup, because no reactions trigger off of setup, you're putting the card into play. You're not marshaling it out, so you can't use that reaction. That being said, though, I do find myself playing Littlefinger in setup still at times, or not mulligan, or if I see him, I won't mulligan to another hand if I have a dupe of Littlefinger, because that +1 gold bonus is great out of Stark to get it very early, to get your econ rolling. Stark characters, as you have already probably noticed, are very, very expensive. So even though you have to give up on that 2-card draw, sometimes it still makes sense, depending on your hand and depending on your level of comfort, to have Littlefinger out on the table from the very, very beginning of the game. Not only is he going to give you that +1 gold bonus, he's also going to provide you with some great early game intrigue defense, which is a very large gaping hole in Stark's playstyle currently. So if you were to match up with Lannister, you'd get eaten alive by intrigue. So you want to have some sort of early game intrigue defense, and Littlefinger definitely provides that if you're able to get him out in setup. Next, this one is another card that I'm kind of shaky on. The 1 copy of Rattleshirt's Raiders. The reason why the Rattleshirt's Raiders are in there, it was just the 1 copy again, was to get rid of Milk of the Poppies. Because you're playing Stark, you know that you're going to win military challenges, and after you win a challenge in which these guys participated, you get to choose an attachment controlled by the losing opponent and discard it from play. So like I said in a previous video, if a card comes from your opponent's deck, so any card that your opponent plays from their deck is a card that's owned by them, regardless of if it's on their side of the table or yours. So you can use this to get rid of Milk of the Poppy. Again, though, I don't like the fact that it's a 1 military icon and that it costs 4. So this might be a card that gets removed from the deck, and then but but I haven't even had a chance to play the Rattleshirts Raiders because there's only one copy of it. It kind of makes it useless. You're not going to see it when you want to see it, and you're definitely not going to play the summons plot to find a Rattleshirts Raiders. You won't. If you had to choose between Rattleshirts Raiders and even Arya Stark, for example, you're probably going to choose Arya Stark over them. So it might not make sense just to play. Excuse me. It might not make sense just to play one copy of the Rattleshirts. But it's totally up to you, I guess. The only other option really would be to add maybe Varys, or you don't really want to put a third copy of Littlefinger in, I wouldn't think. Yeah, the options are very, very, very limited at this point for Stark. So that's why I put the Rattleshirts Raiders in. If you have another suggestion, I'd love to hear it, because I'm definitely looking to replace them. Next, my buddy, my favorite guy in Stark right now is Rob Stark. Their 6th cost character. He has a power and a military icon, strength 5. He's a lord, so a noble cause can be used on him, and he has renown. After a Stark character you control is sacrificed or killed, stand each character you control, limit once per round. So if you have Rob Stark on the table and for whatever reason, you've kneeled out your guys on defense or on offense, whatever have you, you wait for your opponent to attack and you kill Bran Stark, that's going to trigger Rob's reaction. Everyone on your side of the board is going to stand. It's not every Stark character, it's just every character you control will stand. So your neutrals, if you're playing Stark House Lion, your Lannisters would stand, whatever have you. So this is a good card. He has great synergy with Bran. He has great synergy when you kill a Winterfell steward, for example. But you have to remember that it is only once per round. Either way, though, great card. This is probably, I think, the best card out of Stark right now. Him and Caitlyn. Eddard is good, but Rob is great, I think. So 3 copies of him. Moving on, we've got Sansa. 2 copies. She costs 3. She has 2 strength. She's a lady, but you're not going to use a noble cause on her. Please don't use a noble cause on her, guys. Intrigue icon, power icon. She enters play knelt, and after she stands, gain 1 power for your faction. So Sansa is a character that when you play her, you're going to want to just throw her into any challenges. If you're on defense of an intrigue and you know you're going to lose, you throw Sansa in regardless. Just to get her knelt and have her standing to gain that 1 power for your house. She's really not going to do too much other than that in the game. She's kind of just there as that secondary power generator, or maybe tertiary. She's pretty far down on the power generation, but at the end of the day, any power counts when it gets you to 15, right? So 2 copies of her. I would never play 3, me personally, because I don't think she's that important. I would even drop her down to 1 once new Stark cards come out and they're able to take those card slots. Yeah, that's really all I can say about her. Next, we've got Summer, another card that I dislike. 3 costs, strength 3, military icon. It's a direwolf. While you control Bran Stark, he gets insight. Let's go back to Bran real quick. Bran has 1 strength and he's a power. It doesn't have stealth or anything like that. So you kind of just throw him into a power challenge behind all the big guys and hope that you win so that you can draw a card for insight. It does work. It honestly does. A lot of times your opponent overlooks him and the fact that he has synergy with Summer, or at least my opponents have. It is great when you get to finally draw for that insight, but I still don't think that Summer is really worth it. After Summer enters play, return a Stark character with printed strength 2 or lower from your discard or dead pile to your hand. So obviously, again, if Bran dies or you sacrifice Bran, you play Summer. Bran has 1 strength, so you can take him back to your hand and play him, and he lives to fight another day or to cancel another put to the sword. Likewise, you could use him for Arya. You could use him for Sansa. So there are a couple of targets, I suppose, maybe even a direwolf pup if you felt like it. There are a couple of targets for Summer, but I think its most important use is giving Bran that insight. Next, Tumblestone Knight. I can't say enough about this guy. I hate him. No, I don't hate him. I was just upset that he was the first promo card for the upcoming winter kits. I thought FFG would have given us a promo card that was more useful or more popular, I guess I should say. I was expecting like a house card or something, or more promo plots, but we got Tumblestone Knight, and to be fair, Tumblestone Knight is a very, very good utility card out of Stark. His stats are great. It's a 2-cost, 2 strength, military and power, House Tully, and a Knight. And I know that further on in the life cycle of Thrones 2.0, Knights, the Knight keyword is going to be something very, very interesting. I know it's going to be its own play type, as they did with 1.0. So I guess he's going to be a nice card to have in the future. I'm just still upset that they wasted a promo on him. But anyways, 3 copies of that guy. He puts in work, man. He only costs 2. So when you pull these guys in setup, you know that you're going to get a very decent setup start in terms of characters and putting stuff on the board so that you can draw back up. He's going to help you get through your deck faster when you see him in setup. And in those situations when you don't really know what to play or you can't afford anything, he's a very, very affordable card that is going to help you, whether it be as claim soak or to get those late power challenges in. I think the Tumblestone Knight is a nice card for Stark. I wish they had more cards like Tumblestone Knight, to be completely honest. And then lastly, we have the Winterfell Steward, which is just their reducing card. So Neil Winterfell Steward, to reduce the cost of the next Stark character you marshal this phase by 1 strength, and a power icon. 3 copies of him. Very important to have 3 copies of them, because again, Stark cards are very, very expensive. If you looked at the gold curve of the Stark cards in this deck, there's a lot of 4s. Obviously, Eddard's is 7, Greywyn at 5, Rob 6, Sansa 3. I mean, it really starts to add up when you're trying to get these cards out. And because it's Fealty and you're not really including cards of other houses, that makes the Stark reducers all the more important, because you know that you're only playing Stark characters, and you're playing a very high frequency of them because of all the dupes in the deck. So you definitely want to get 3 of those in the deck if you can, and get them all out on the table as fast as possible, because at the end of the day, they're just going to be claim soak anyways. So that's the characters. We got 32. Moving on to the attachments. This is my favorite part of Stark, is the attachments, because of ice. So I'm going to do ice right here. Stark character only. Attached character gets +2 strength. It costs 3 to put ice into play. It's a weapon. After you win a military challenge in which the attached character is participating, sacrifice ice to choose and kill a character controlled by the losing opponent. Keywords here are choose and kill, firstly. And secondly, it's controlled by the losing opponent, not participating in the challenge. So even if you win a military challenge with, I don't know, you put ice on Arya because she has stealth. You win a military challenge with Arya, your opponent's like, well, I don't want to jump into that with my Khal Drogo because I don't want ice to kill me. So he leaves Khal Drogo out, loses the challenge. You still use your reaction of ice and target kill Khal Drogo. So anyone on the opponent's side is going to die from ice if you win that challenge. And the other thing is, it's on offense or on defense. It says after you win a military challenge. So you don't have to worry about being on the attacking side of the board. And that's a mistake that Rob and I made in our game previously, where for whatever reason we both kind of just assumed that it was attacking. And I think it was because so many cards in 1.0 and so many cards in 2.0 really, you have to be on the attacking side in order to trigger a card like this. So ice is a great card to have. I put 3 copies of it. It's another reason why I put building orders in the deck, is so that I could search the top 10 cards of my deck to find ice if I really needed to get rid of a certain character. So 3 copies of those, 2 copies of Little Bird, which is just the 1 cost attachment that gives an intrigue icon. It's a condition, so keep that in mind, because there are ways to get rid of condition attachments out of other houses. So Just keep that in mind, that it is a condition and not a weapon, or whatever Sirio is. I can't remember what Sirio. Sirio is also a condition. Dang, never mind. Yeah, it's a condition. So just keep that in mind. And then lastly, 2 copies of Milk of the Poppy. 2 copies of Milk of the Poppy. Just because Milk of the Poppy is a fantastic card to have. Excuse me. So if you can get 3 copies of Milk, I would suggest putting in the 3. I always like to play 3, but because of the fact that excuse me, because of the fact that I only have 3 core sets, I was only able to fit 2 copies of Milk into this deck. Otherwise, I would put 3. So this is just because of a core set limitation. I'm still waiting on my next copy. Locations. Gates of Winterfell. Great card. Automatic 3. This is your draw for Stark. So it only costs 2. Challenges action. Kneel Gates of Winterfell to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Stark card, draw it. So it's a challenges action, so you just wait till the beginning of the challenges phase, or any action window in challenges, really. Depends on you. I would likely do it at the very beginning of the phase, just in case I'm playing like a Greyjoy player, and they somehow get an unopposed and play We Do Not Sow and blow the Gates of Winterfell off the hinges. You definitely want to play that before that happens. So I use that reaction or trigger it as soon as the challenges phase starts and you get that first action window. If it's not a start card, you don't discard it. Your opponent's going to see what it is. So if you reveal it and it's a Milk of the Poppy, they know what they need to do to prepare next turn, or they know that they need to hit an intrigue challenge, which kind of sucks. But if it's a start card, you draw it. And what I meant to say, was if they saw it was a Milk of the Poppy, it goes back, so they would try to pillage it. My apologies. That's what I do anyways out of Greyjoy. If it's a start card, you'll draw it, and they'll know what start card it is, so that's when they'll try to hit you with intrigues, and that's when it's important to have your little fingers out, your Catelyn Starks out, or even your Sansas to try to defend that intrigue. But this is a great draw engine out of Stark for every single turn. We have the Heart Tree Grove, which is just the 0 cost reducer out of Stark. So reduce the next Stark card you marshal this phase by 1. So that means you can use it again on things like Ice or Gates of Winterfell. It doesn't have to be on a character. And then lastly, the 2 auto includes of the King's Road and the Rose Road, which we all know what they do by now. They're in every single deck. It's just gold bonus and initiative bonus for the King's Road, and you also kneel and discard it to reduce the cost of the next character by 3. Lastly, we've got the events, and Stark has some good events. I think that's what keeps me the most interested in Stark is how their events play out. Firstly, we have For the North. 0 cost, played during a military challenge. Choose a participating Stark character. Until the end of the challenge, that character gets +2 strength. If you win the challenge, draw 1 card. So this is a card that you're going to find yourself putting characters into military challenges, knowing that you are committing, let's say, 7 strength, and your opponent's able to commit up to 9 because of their combination of characters. So I'll always commit 7, knowing that the only way that my opponent can win this challenge is if they kneel out whatever combination of characters and hit 9. If it's the majority of their characters or all of their characters that have military icons, all the better. But I wait for them to do that before I pop For the North. Obviously, attacker wins ties. Even still, though, chances are they're not going to want to kneel out everybody to defend the military challenge, unless it was some high claim plot that you're playing. So in those cases, I find I still play For the North just to get that draw. It kind of sucks if you hold on to this card all game and don't get to play it. It's not like you get to carry it with you into the second round of the tournament, for example. So if you can play it and give yourself a card advantage, even though it's not helping you win the challenge, sometimes I still do that. And it's very situational. It really depends on you and what you're looking for from your deck. Or sometimes, you'll use the Gates of Winterfell. It'll reveal, like I said, a Milk of the Poppy, and you really want to draw that Milk of the Poppy now and see another 2 cards in the next round draw phase, then you play for the North and draw that Milk of the Poppy, and then see the 2 cards after. So it's up to you. That's the way that I think about it, is I just want to see as many cards as possible, or get cards off the top of my deck so that my opponent can't pillage them or whatever have you. And that's definitely something that you'll have to think about as the game continues to age and more pillaging cards and top decking cards come out. But right now, it's still a great card. It does give you that +2 strength. It's going to help you win those military challenges, and you're going to get to draw on top of that, potentially even draw 2 cards per round or in a round due to Gates of Winterfell and this card. Next, we have Like Warm Rain. Great card. It costs 1. After you lose an intrigue challenge as the defending player, kneel a direwolf character to choose and kill an attacking character. Now, this card is non-loyal, so you can't use the fealty. You can't use fealty on it. Sorry, you have to pay with your own gold, and you also need a direwolf character out. That being said, it's still a pretty good card. I mean, you have, if I'm not mistaken, let's see, 2 direwolf pups, 2 gray ones, that's 4, and 2 summers, that's 6. So there's 6 direwolves floating around in the deck. It's enough to get this card to fire. I only dropped it down to 2 copies because of how limited the direwolves are currently. Some people don't play this card. I know Rob doesn't play direwolves in his deck, so he doesn't have Like Warm Rain, obviously, because there's no way that he would ever be able to play it without having a direwolf. But some people will play direwolves in their deck, so the 3 that we have now, and omit this card just for the fear of it in your opponent, or just to strike fear in your opponent. So you go into challenges always having 1 gold and a direwolf standing, and now your opponent has to kind of think about, okay, if I put Cersei in this challenge by herself, or with anybody really, and Stark decides to lose the challenge on purpose, are they going to come at me with a Like Warm Rain? And if they do I have the Hands of Judgment in order to cancel it? So like that, on fear alone, you're going to get your opponent not to initiate intrigue challenges with their big characters, which is going to make it even easier for you to win them with your little weenies like Sansa Stark. I think in future editions of this deck, I will take Like Warm Rain out and just play off the fear, but for now I'm going to keep it in, because when it does hit, it's so sweet. I mean, yesterday when I was playing with it, I made the stupid mistake. I was playing Targ and Justin was playing Stark. I made the stupid mistake late in the game. This was the last game I played of the night, of initiating an intrigue challenge with Daenerys by herself. Justin had 2 gold, and I totally forgot that he had the 2 gold, and so he came at me with Like Warm Rain and took out Daenerys just like that for $1. It was very frustrating, needless to say. So that's Like Warm Rain. Next, we've got Put to the Sword. This is honestly one of my favorite neutral cards right now. It just goes so well in so many decks. After you win a military challenge by 5 or more strength as the attacking player, choose and kill a character controlled by the losing opponent. So it's like Ice, except you just have to win a challenge by 5 or more military. Stark has so much military in it that a lot of the times you are going to win a challenge by 5. Even if you know that you're not going to win a challenge by 5, if you can afford to, take 2 gold with you into the challenges phase. Because even though you know you can't do it, your opponent doesn't know. And they're going to throw whatever they can in to make sure that their math results in them not losing a challenge by 5 because they see that 2 gold. So if you can afford it, like I said, keep that 2 gold with you, and it just gives your opponent something extra to think about and something extra to mess with their math in the challenges phase. If they totally disrespect it and try to call your bluff and you do have it, it sucks even more for them. So that's just the way that I play. I always take 2. Likewise, if I'm playing Targ, I always try to take 1 gold with me into challenges because of Dracarys and keep a dragon standing as long as possible. Just little things like that to stay in your opponent's head. And then lastly, we have Winter is Coming. Play only during a challenge. Until the end of the challenge, raise the claim value on your revealed plot card by 1. Because of this card, I find that I only play Sneak Attack as my 2 claim plot in the entire plot deck, because you're able to now turn any plot into a 2 claimer, any 1 claim plot into a 2 claimer. And obviously the 1 claim plots are the ones that have the greatest abilities. That's the reason why I don't play multiples of 2 claimers, because you still get the great abilities and the great gold from those 1 claim plots, and then on top of that you can play Winter is Coming and increase the claim to 2. You can potentially still get 3 or 4 people killed if you have ice and put to the sword. So 3 copies of that, and that rounds out the deck at 61. And now we move into the plot deck, which is the part that I'm not, I guess, the most sold on currently. I'm still trying out different variations. This is what I settled on for yesterday, and like I said, it did work out well, and there's a couple of videos of the deck doing very well and a couple of videos of the deck not doing so well. But here are the plots that we have. So starting off, we've got obviously a noble cause. Reduce the cost of the first lord or lady character you marshal this round by 2. 5 gold, 0 initiative, and 1 claim. And that's just obviously to get your heavy hitters out. Next, we've got building orders. 4 gold, 1 initiative, 1 claim. Search the top 10 cards of your deck for an attachment or location, reveal it, and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So not only does it let you shuffle your deck if you're drawing very, very crappy cards and you think that some of your good stuff is buried, it also gives you the opportunity to look for either the Gates of Winterfell, because it's a location. You can look for ice, you can look for Little Bird, or Milk of the Poppy. Those are all cards that this deck definitely needs to see, and depending on the situation, this card just helps you find those cards even faster. So to me, this is kind of like a pseudo draw, I guess you could say. So 1 copy of Building Orders, 1 copy of Calling the Banners, 3 gold, 6 initiative, 1 claim. Choose an opponent, gain 1 gold for each character that player controls. So when people try to throw out all of their weenies and reducers, you drop Calling the Banners, and that helps you get Eddard Stark or Rob Stark into the game very cheaply, and likely you still have enough gold to play another character as well. So very good card, and it does have high initiative on it. Next, we've got a Calm over Westeros. When revealed, name a challenge type until you reveal a new plot card. Reduce the claim value on the attacking player's revealed plot card by 1 during challenges of that type in which you are the defending player. This card I usually use out of Stark to reduce the claim on intrigue challenges. Obviously, because Stark doesn't have that much intrigue in it until you find your Little Birds and your few intrigue characters that are in the deck. So this just helps you hold on to those important cards like Put to the Sword and Winter's Coming, like Warm Rain, etc. And the gold on it is nice and high. The initiative is only 3, so you're definitely not going to win initiative when you play this card later in the game when your opponent's trying to take initiative from you. But it does help you to hold on to the precious cards that you might have in hand until you get to a turn where you're able to play them. So that is 4. Number 5 is the Sneak Attack. And Sneak Attack is one, it has nice gold on it of 5. It has the high initiative and 2 claim. But you can only make 1 challenge. And you got to think of it this way, that you can only make 1 challenge, yes. And it kind of sucks. But being that you're playing a Stark deck, you're likely going to make that 1 challenge a military challenge. So you make that military, it's claim 2, you have ice out, so you target kill someone else, and you might have a Put to the Sword to target kill a 4th person. So obviously you target kill the 2 best characters and then force your opponent to claim the other 2 of their choice. That isn't a perfect world. And so that's part of the reason why I kind of would like to play Winds of Winter over Sneak Attack. But the fact that Sneak Attack's initiative is so high is part of the reason why I keep it in the deck, because it'll help you win initiative and win games late game, and it's also a great plot to play first turn, for example, when you need to limit your opponent's choices right out of the gates. So I do keep the 1 Sneak Attack. Chances are there's a few other plots I would like to switch around, like maybe take out a Building Orders for a second 2 claimer, but currently I'm having a lot of success with the Building Orders, which is why I haven't done that yet. Another card that I'm potentially going to take out is this next plot supporting the Faith. After the challenges phase begins, each player returns all gold in his or her gold pool to the treasury. It gives you 6 gold, 2 initiative, and 1 claim. The 6 gold is part of the reason why I chose this, but the main reason was the forced reaction. So because you're playing a Fealty deck, you know that regardless, you're going to be able to play a loyal card of cost 1 in challenges, and your opponent now is not going to be able to defend it with the Hand's Judgment or play things like Dracarys unless they're playing Fealty as well. That was my reasoning behind it, but I kind of find now that it's not really that important, because I mean the only loyal event that you're going to be playing is Winter's Coming, and so playing this plot for 3 events out of 61 cards in your deck doesn't really seem like that great of an idea. However, it is going to limit your opponent from playing their 1 cost or whatever cost events too. Like, they won't be able to play Put to the Sword, for example. But I definitely think that this is one card that can be, one plot that can be swapped out, and the reserve on it is very, very low. So I have 1 copy for now. Again, if anybody has any suggestions or changes that they would have made, please let me know. Like, I could toss in a Heads on Spikes, for example, or even a March to the Wall. I think that March to the Wall is always a good card to have, because it does reduce your opponent's side of the board as well, especially when played at the right time with a turn after a 2-claim plot, for example. March to the Wall is a very, very good card, but we'll see. Let me know what you think. For me right now, I'm going to switch it to March to the Wall after I'm done recording this video, and see how it goes from there. Lastly, we have Summons. And Summons: search the top 10 cards of your deck for a character, reveal it and add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. 4 gold, 0 initiative, and 1 claim. This is just to help you find Eddard, help you find Rob, help you find Caitlyn, whoever you really need at the time. I tend to play this pretty early, only knowing that when I play this card, I'm going to be able to play the character that I search for either this turn or the next. Never search for a character knowing that you're not going to be able to play it for 3 turns, because by that time, chances are it's going to get sniped out of your hand by your opponent's intrigue challenges, because Stark, like I said and have been saying, really, really struggle when it comes to defending intrigue. So only play this when you're going to search for a character and play it that turn or the next turn, or search for a character's dupe. I used it to search for Rob's dupe yesterday, and that worked out very, very well for me. So that's another way to think of it. It doesn't always have to be a new character that's coming out. It can also be to search for a dupe and protect the characters that you already have out on the board. So that rounds out the deck. Again, 61 cards, House Stark, Fealty. Those are the 7 plots. As I've been saying, if you have any suggestions or changes that you would make, or maybe your House Stark Fealty deck looks a little bit different, feel free to let me know. Fire me an email at throne.runner@gmail.com, or drop a comment on the video, whatever have you. I'd love to hear from you guys and make update videos to these decks. Moving forward, I'm going to start streaming the deck building videos again. That way we can have a little segment of answering questions and seeing what people are saying about the decks as we build them, and kind of keep it more dynamic that way. So again, my Twitch.tv channel is twitch.tv/SammyG, which you can see at the bottom of the screen. For those of you who are listening via podcast, feel free to check that out when you get a chance. And also, for those who don't have a core set yet or are still looking for core sets, if you hit up www.bookdepository.com, which is on the screen right now, and I'll post a link to it at the end of the video and in the description of the podcast. They sell their Game of Thrones core sets at a very, very reduced price. It's currently $38.15 Canadian, and that is with tax and shipping. It ships from the UK, but I always order from this site, and my stuff shows up within a week. I don't know how they do it, but they always seem to manage to. So again, that's bookdepository.com. I'll post the link to that under the video. I'll post it on thronerunner.com and wherever else I can think of. So thanks again. Don't forget to check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ShammyG. Don't forget to check out thronerunner.com, which has just gone up. These videos are now all being posted as podcasts, 2 or 3. I don't even know where we're at. I'm still tired. And thanks again for watching. Let me know if you have any feedback. Everybody take care, and good luck with your Game of Thrones. And peace out.